The most prestigious Czech and Slovak virtual racing series is back. 20 of the best drivers from Czechia and Slovakia. 12 races at some of the most famous circuits in the world. Who is going to become the new champion? This is the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2022 season. Hello and welcome back to the Mercedes-Benz Virtual GP 2022 season. We're in Monza for round 9 and the third race of the year with the single-seaters. My name is Justin Sutton and joining me today, it is of course Chris Buxton.
Oh, the beautiful Monza with single-seater cars. Such an iconic combination. I can't wait to get this underway. We enjoyed the beautiful Ardennes Forest of Spa last time out, and it's Monza this time, and look at that up top. That is so close. Yet again, it's Lucas Pichada leading Stefanko with a bit of a gap now to Podstarter, with Sirotek very hot on his heels. Of course, remember we had a fair amount of driver changes last time after the summer break, and everybody was doing really well to kind of re-establish themselves, either new teams or new teammates. But yeah, we're in for a treat. I am absolutely certain of that. I say that every time, and I make no apologies for it either. Team-wise, bit of an advantage to ERT, but not insurmountable whatsoever. Entropic still holding strong, but they've got ESEP bearing down on them hard. Mainly through Stefanko's efforts, but Moritz is doing his bit. Then a bit of a gap back to Mecha Roll for Sim and Legion are their closest competitors, with Cavago right on their tail.
Here are the conditions for today's race: 29 degrees Celsius, 47 degrees track temperature though, extremely hot track temperature. Yeah, very toasty.
Oh, as Podstarter on the front. When have we last saw that? That's a weird thing to say. With Sirotek joining him. My goodness me, Lucas Pichada and Martin Nadley. Oh, we've got a bit of a mixed grid here. Fantastic. Kadlacek, Pilo, David Pichada and Michael Lehman all the way down to row 4. The Pavel Maracek, Eric Vizzi, row 5, Kashka standing in, I believe. We do have a stand-in for Mr. Stefanko. He is not with us this time around, so that's why we haven't seen his name. With Thomas Horan not getting a qualifying time on the board, so expect a bit of a push from him. Let's go racing here at the Temples of Speed. It's Tifosi territory. It is the beautiful Monza.
And I believe it is Studniczka that is replacing Stefanko for this race. But surely whoever replaces Martin Stefanko is going to have a hard time filling those shoes. Here we go. The lights are coming on and we are green. And it's a good start, actually, for everyone on the front row. Podstarter is, I think, going to just about hang on. He's sort of in the middle of the track. He's not sure if he wants to defend that inside, that outside. That's the ERT car coming through. That's Lucas Pichada coming through up into second position, actually, already ahead of Martin Sirotek, who hasn't had A great start there, drops down into third position a little bit further back. You can see Maricek battling the two Navitel cars going side by side through that first chicane, losing out a little bit of time as well. Maricek still side by side as well as he makes his way down towards the second chicane, a little bit further up the road though, and there is still battling going on. David Pichota trying to make up some positions, and he's up into fifth. Oh, he clouts the curbing there, really unsettles the car. That's going to put the Lenovo Legion car alongside him, but with that inside line through the Lesmo, he is going to hold on to that sixth place position. So he does manage to at least maintain that place, but whew, that was a scary moment for him. Oh, and we got a car off in the back there, actually. Is that, I'm not sure. Was that Lehman? That is Lehman. Oh, no, so unfortunate for one of the fastest, most exciting drivers in the league.
Oh, Peter Hermark is having a look around the outside of one of the Lenovo Legion cars. How the hell did you slow that down? Coming into a scurry, very nicely done. These cars do not like bumps, they definitely don't like curbs, and these curbs bite. There's not that many turns here at Monza, but it's the way that these cars are driven, you have got to utilize every pixel available to you as Peter Montelli slams into the back of the car he's chasing. Goodness me, this is a 10th position right behind. That's one of the big shot cars making a move. My goodness me, it is happening all over the place, and what has happened to Martin Leydig? He's falling down the field as well. That's what's happened to Martin Leydig. He's come into the pits along with Michael Leeming having that early trouble. But oh my God, how many people trying to go into turn one? Struth alive. They managed to survive. But Peter Hermark's had a storming start, now up to 8th.
Yeah, up 6 positions from where he started, and I have to say that's really been one of the reasons that Hermark's been one of my favorite drivers, one of my favorite rookies of this season. The Orland Benzina car is going side by side, or at least running in very close formation, with the big shock of Maricek running right behind as well. Maricek down a couple of positions. He started up in 9th. He's now behind a couple of the harder compound tire runners. The two Orland Benzina cars are on that harder tire compound. You can see it on the left-hand side. The tire compound is just to the right of the team name of each driver. And also you can see the push-to-pass being used by Pavel Maricek. He's trying to make up a couple of those positions, see if he can get back ahead of the... Oh, and that is Svoboda with a very wiggly front right wheel, and he's definitely missing a bit of body work.
Yeah, that's a bit of redesigning that's gone on the front of the Puma car, so he's hit something very solid, and I was going to say very hard, but you don't need to hit things hard in these cars. They are not built for strength, they are built for speed. As Peter Hermark continuing his chart, as Eric Vizzi in the Lenovo Legion car that he is chasing, as they come through Parabolica and then onto the start finish straight with the other Podstarter car. Podstarter joining Cavago last time around really revitalized his championship, really, as he's he took the win last time out in Spa and is really looking strong. Lucas Pichota, his main rival, chasing him on. There is Stefenka's replacement. I mean, quite how you replace Martin Stefenka is a bit of a mystery, but it is Studnicka in the ESET car in 12th position. It's not I don't believe it's a name we've seen before in VGP, no. So we welcome the new addition to the scene. There is Lucas Pichota, who didn't have he had a bit of a recovery drive last time out. Was just beaten to the line by Podstarter in the end, and the LPs once again revitalizing their battle from last time and from last season, you can argue. And then it's the Entropic pair, Siratek and Kadlecik. Again, since the kind of driver shuffling we had during the summer, the Entropics team really have come alive again.
They really have. It's worth remembering, though, by the way, Podstarter leading at the moment, took that pole position quite convincingly as well. We didn't even touch on that yet. 0.4 of a second was the gap between Podstarter and the rest of the field. A pretty sizable advantage that he had. However, the driver that has won every single race in the single-seaters so far is Lucas Pichota in second position. He has not lost a race yet in this car. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but he's definitely riding that wave of confidence at the moment, and it does seem that Podstarter is not quite able to get away. Could come down to setup. It might be a situation where Podstarter is just running a slightly higher downforce setup, so he can't quite pull away no matter what he does, even if he runs higher fuel, or maybe he doesn't necessarily want to run away. Maybe he's happy just to keep Lucas at arm's length, but it's going to be a very interesting battle. We still have 50 minutes of racing to go. And also, yeah, just on Studnicka, just doing a fantastic job in 12th position, sitting in a points-paying position as it stands right now. And it's worth remembering, he's on the harder compounded tire as well, so he could make up positions later in the second half of the race.
True enough, as we are now looking at Kashka in the Benzina Orlan car. Whoa, my goodness me. That's actually Eric Vizzi that's directly ahead of him, as Peter Hermach has dispatched of the Lenovo Legion car, and Eric Vizzi seems really squiggly. Now, what's happened to Michael Schembera of the Navitel squad coming into Ascari? A little bit deep on the initial part. That's okay. Okay, so he's... Oh, has he got all three of them? Has he got all three of them by Parabolica? Oh, no, that's... I'm assuming so. Hence, I mean, getting two of them by Parabolica is interesting. And then three wide right behind them. Well played, Michael Schembera. Take a bow.
That's 200 IQ plays right there. That is really impressive stuff from Schembera, and it's moved him up into a points-paying position as well. So not for nothing there. As was that Kadlacek moving ahead of Sirotec? That's something that we saw last time out. We saw that at the last race at Spa, but it was right at the end of the race rather than at the beginning of the race. And we could see Kadlacek deploying a bit of that push to pass now, trying to maybe pull out a little bit of a gap, or just make sure that at least his teammate isn't going to have to lift, because of course Sirotec is coming under attack from Adam Pilo. He is right behind him. Pilo in the Mecha Alphasim car doing a fantastic job. Obviously the lead Mecha Alphasim as it stands right now, considering Michael Lehman's incident earlier in the race. But Kadlacek moves ahead of Sirotec. We're unsure whether or not that was communicated over the radio or whatever the case might be. But certainly one thing that is obvious is that the top two have started to break away. So Kadlacek may be thinking that he was missing out a little bit on that opportunity to fight for the top two positions. We'll see what he can do now that he's free out from behind the dirty air of his teammate. And we'll see if Adam Pilo and David Pichata can follow through as well, because they are waiting in the wings.
That is true. And look at Kadlacek, he's already at 7/10 he's got to himself. So Sirotec has almost gone into a rear gunner position with Adam Pilo in 5th. He's already in a position where he hasn't finished this high. Okay, he joined us quite late in the season, or about mid-season. 7th, 6th and 7th we've seen from Adam Pilo, but he really did hit the ground running for Mecha Alphasim, and he's looking to improve on that position again. But Kadlacek, my God, what pace he is showing at the moment. Now, of course, Podstarter and Pichata have broken away, and I had no discredit to them whatsoever, because their pace is blistering, but their pace is always blistering, so we very much expect it from them. What's happened to Kashka? Oh dear, that's a wounded car that he's just gone past. Oh, that is so easy to do, but well caught. Sign that man up to the baseball team. My goodness, that was a hell of a catch. It's so easy to do that on the exit of the second Lesmo. It's a kind of banked corner. But he does tempt you to put the gas down a little bit too early, and especially running onto that AstroTurf, which you do need to do to maximise your exit, but it's not all that grippy, and you touch the grass by a pixel's width, and it's going to launch you towards the barrier on the right-hand side. That's Eric Vizzi. Now that will be the car that we saw dropping in the replay. His race is going from bad to disastrous. We saw his car was getting all kinds of out of shape when he was being challenged earlier on by Peter Hermach. Oh my goodness! With a wounded car, he's still trying to make a move on the inside of Ascari. He's pushing very hard. He's Eric Vizzi, but this race is descending quickly. But with the pack, or with this pack at least, still heavily condensed, he could try and make up for lost time. But that car seems really loose.
I wasn't sure if that was him going for a move or if that was crash avoidance, because that did seem a little bit late. And of course, they're in a little bit of a train right now, so he might have been caught off guard. But he went to the inside anyway, regardless. That slowdown where we saw Eric Vizzi moving so slowly, that was coming right out of the second Lesmo. So very possibly he had the exact same issue happen to him that happened to Kashka. We didn't see it. We only saw the tail end, but now now he's in real danger of dropping down yet another position here. Moritz is keen to try and grab another championship point here if he can. He's already got one in his current position, but no, he gets squeezed out of that one ever so slightly. Thinks better of it. Says maybe not. Maybe I want to continue racing for the next 45 minutes, and continues on. But Podstata and Lucas Pichota continuing on. That gap to Kadlacek still pretty similar, between 3 and 4 seconds thereabouts. Kadlacek still bringing Sirotec along with him as well, still round about 0.7 of a second. Maybe a little bit more than that now. But yeah, nothing major changing up at the front. It really does seem it's in the lower points-paying positions where we're seeing all of the action so far here today. But a number of drivers really, losing out. Nadlik, Lehman, Vizzy, a number of drivers making mistakes, falling down the order. And that's helped, drivers like Adam Pilo, who now finds himself knocking on the door of his first podium finish potentially. And that is definitely the closest Lucas Pichota has been, at least as far as I've noticed. Ooh, in the background there, Adam Pilo just again going on the offensive there on Sirotec. Sirotec having to go defensive, defend the inside line into that heavy braking zone at the Rettifilio chicane. Here we go, once again, another heavy braking zone, another opportunity for the Mecca Alfredsson car, but once again, he's going to have to try and do it to the outside. He moves to the outside, he's got him. He's already ahead before he gets into the braking zone. That was a convincing overtake.
Yeah, either Sirotec had a bit of a rough exit from the Rettifilio, or there was push to pass going on there, because that seemed very good, very decisive, as you say. Looking back then from pod starter, I love that helicam shot we had. That was mainly looking at Lucas Pichota. The heli operators need they need a pay raise. That was brilliant. But we're actually looking back from the lead too now. So on the right hand side, the camera 2 is our race leader staring at the back of our second place car, and you can barely see the second in Tropical, although I think that we did see a lot of potential pit stops coming up on the tower. That's lag. They're not we haven't suddenly had half the field coming to the pits, not yet. A little bit too early for that. Also, I was interested to see how Liebman Moritz was really hustling Eric Vizzy, especially as Moritz is on the harder tyres. Speaking of which, both of the Benzina cars are on hard tyres, and 8th and 9th, with the newcomer Studnicka in 10th, again on hard tyres. So I'm very much going to be interested in how they do in the second half of the race once they have stopped. But we've seen these two duel, we've seen these two battle many times. You know that Pichota is just going to hover, he's just going to keep applying the pressure, and he's going for the opportunity, but he won't push for it. There, I was just coming on to say this. When we were riding on board with him just coming down into the Rettifilio last time around, he let off the gas. It's such a common tactic. You do not want to make that move too early. Up front, anyway, we've still got another 40 minutes to go for last lap. Oh god, yeah, you can imagine they're going to be arguing with one another all day long. But this is Nadlik and Lehman basically doing wooden spoon avoidance. All 20 cars are back on track, but with the damage that Svoboda had, he is some 6 laps down. So he's pretty much out of the running, but at least he's still going. And fair play, he hasn't just thrown in the towel. But yeah, Michael Lehman is not wanting to just go through the miles, unlike Lucas Pichota. He will get very close, but won't quite make the move just yet, unless he's had a serious overspeed. Literally, as I'm just saying the words, he then makes the move. But he had a big overspeed there. The problem with that is that he's now going to be subject to pressure from Podstata, and this is one of the longest stretches in the racing calendar. Is here from Parabolica down to the Rettifilio. Unless Lucas can really break away, Lucas, they're both Lucases. Unless Pichota can break away from Podstata, and now Pichota is going to be very much playing defence, which is a little bit unusual. You usually see Pichota applying pressure for a bit longer than that. There's the second Puma car, Stepanovsky, just fending off the advances of Shimbera in the Navitel car. He's got both Navitel cars right with him, so it's a great battle for the last point-paying position.
It is indeed. I was going to say earlier as well, with Nadlik and Lehman, it can be really frustrating sometimes when you end up at the back of the pack and you're back there with someone else who's also quite quick. and then you end up just battling each other the entire time, because that's really what they don't want. If they want to be making up that 30 seconds at all, then they are definitely going to need to avoid going side by side as much as possible. So, but yeah, good to see that Nadlik was able to get by rather convincingly. They could start. They're going to be praying for a safety car though of some kind. Something to slow down the cars ahead, because a 30-second deficit is going to be difficult to overhaul. This is a very quick grid. I still maintain that I think this is the most competitive grid of VGP that we have ever had of any year. I think it's closer from top to bottom than it has ever been. And I think, even someone as quick as Nadlik is going to have a hard time making up a 30-second deficit with only 30 minutes of racing yet to go. So it's going to be a difficult one. Here's Adam Pilo. I mentioned before how he was potentially threatening for a podium position. Well, that is becoming very real now as he closes right up to the back of Kadlacek, who is again still kind of in that 3 to 4 second range. Behind the top pair, but here goes Adam Pilo. He's got the inside line. He's got the push to pass, and Kadlacek really isn't all that interested in defending that. I've seen this a couple of times in this race now, Chris. A number of drivers who just really don't seem interested in defending into the Della Roggia. Maybe they're just worried about going side by side into what can be a very dangerous chicane.
It's really narrow to go side by side through the Della Roggia. That's absolutely true. But yeah, this comes back to what I was saying earlier from what Pachada and Postada were doing. You find cars that are able to make the move, but they don't want to do it too early. They do not want to then put themselves in a position to be counterattacked. Again, like we had at Spa, like any racing series has at Spa, you come over a Radeon and you suddenly got the whole Kemmel Straight where you're under attack. If you make your move too early, you're simply going to be counterattacked again. So it's all about tactical play as much as it is about raw pace. But Adam Pilo is having an absolute cracker at the moment. He must be really enjoying it, but he'll be feeling the pressure. And now some of the early starts, I noticed that Pachada had come in. So some of the early runners are now coming in a little earlier than I was expecting. But then saying that, 12 laps have already disappeared. This has been a very action-packed race so far, so perhaps I shouldn't be surprised that 12 laps have gone.
And this track can be quite punishing on the tires. This is not the most punishing track in the world, obviously. A lot of straight lines here at Monza, so you can imagine that's helpful. But yeah, it can still be quite painful. And this is Vizzy coming under attack down towards the Della Roggia chicane. In fact, that's the ESET car. Oh no!
Oh no! I thought I saw his car with a missing front wing in the pits. I wonder what had happened there, but. Oh dear, that was Lubomir Moritz, so that's a Lenovo Legion and an ESET car out of the picture.
Yep, Moritz is going to be he's going to be frustrated about that one. So is Eric Vizzy. I couldn't really. It was difficult to see from that angle without slowing it down at full speed. I mean, they were going so quickly, which is why it was so devastating from such a small touch. And yeah, they just got into each other, got stuck to each other, and into the barrier they go. At fairly high speed as well, and then they would have, I think, gotten a tow back as well. So very possibly that might be the end of their day, which is exactly why you thought that Svoboda should get back out on track. You know, that's exactly what we were talking about earlier on. It can look very, like all hope is lost when you're six laps behind, but then two top drivers take each other out.
Exactly that. Now, this is going to be interesting. The champion is in, and the champion-elect is, one of them, I should say, is about to cross the line. Now, Pachada has had a bit of a tow from the Navitel pair. Bird starter has gotten underway. Pachada is getting to the end of the pit lane. It's going to be close, but Pachada, with the pace that it would have been helped, certainly, by the slipstream he was getting from the Navitel cars. I don't think that was all of it. Well played from all of them as Pachada takes back over the lead.
Now, can the hard tires go to the end? That is the question. We've had a couple of, or a few two-stop races this season, which I have to say I've really enjoyed, actually. I've really enjoyed the mix-up of strategy that we've seen this season. In previous years, it was a lot of one stopping, but the fact that we're seeing the 2 stops this year, but not all the time, only sometimes, not all drivers, etc., makes things very interesting. I really like the current rule set that we have at the moment. That's making things quite interesting on track and off in the pits as well. And it's great to see Adam Pilo up in that 3rd place position as well. Again, as you mentioned, hasn't been on the podium this season, has been unbelievably consistent, which is his 6th and 7th. But now he just has unbelievable pace at this race here at Monza. Truly incredible pace. So really quick driver here, it seems, and it seems he's going to be a really solid contender for a podium position, possibly not just in this race, but in other races as well. Here's Pavel Maricek, who we haven't really checked in with recently. Last time we checked in with him, he was actually in 11th, I believe, so he's since slipped down into 12th position. Now finds himself behind Aleš Standa, the Orlen Benzina driver, with Thomas Hoare just a little bit further up the road, so they're a bit of a trio. And then they've got Stepanovsky not that far behind as well. So Maricek's going to look to make that move as quickly as he can. And that is Eric Vizzi out of the race. No surprise, given an impact of that nature. But yeah, really unfortunate. And again, we don't know who's at fault. Maybe it might be a shared fault situation. Oftentimes it is with racing. And Moritz as well is out of the race. So yeah, really unfortunate that that those 2 drivers are going to be victims of that incident.
Sad but true. But that is the nature of racing. When you've got, exactly as you were saying, with drivers of this caliber this close, unfortunately those kind of incidents can happen, and when they happen at that speed, yeah, the wall beckons and the wall is very unforgiving, and Eric was really struggling, whether he'd had an early incident or whatever it was, but his qualifying pace just did not seem to carry over. Wow, look at this, David Pachada up into 4th now. Lucas Pachada has been the quicker brother, but you don't often see David up that high. Speaking of Lucas Pachada, there he is now under attack by Lucas Podstata. He bailed, I'm not surprised. It's wide enough to go side by side into Parabolica, as very much Kalachik is about to prove. As Lucas Pachada did indeed prove in the end. I'm surprised he kind of went for that. He went, he didn't go, and then he went and decided to go for it again. So, Podstata and Pachada, they're not going to be going through the miles now. I thought they would be kind of just looming in each other's wing mirrors for a while. No, not judging by this. It looks like they're going to give each other a real proper all-out race. Right behind them, you've got Adam Pilo now back up into 3rd position. Just getting ahead. No, beg your pardon. That's David Pachada and Kalachik, excuse me. Adam Pilo is up into 3rd. There, he's just gone through the shot, coming through Curva Grande. But the Entropic pair, 5th and 6th at the moment. Siratek ready to get involved if he needs to. But David Pachada playing very heavily defensive. But it's looking good. He hasn't. He has seen the podium this season. He's seen it twice. A couple of 4ths right at the beginning of the season. But for the last few races, it really hasn't gone his way. 18th in Hockenheim, 10th in Silverstone, was 6th last time out in Spa. So he really would. He's probably being quite buoyed that he's right up there towards the sharper end. Although would probably prefer his wing mirrors not be completely full of green and black.
Yeah, absolutely. He would love to pick up that 3rd podium this season, Donington being the last one, Daytona being the first one. But this would be his first in the single-seaters, but Kadlecek, with incredible speed through Ascari there, is going to make absolute mincemeat of David Pachada and put one more car between himself and that goal of picking up that podium. But David Pachada definitely is driving quite well today. I agree with you completely on that. Seems a little bit revitalized. Kadlecek selling a dummy there for the pit lane, it seems, or just breaking the slipstream, as Sirotech very close to the back of David Pachada. The Entropic team looking to get past David Pachada fairly quickly. And indeed, Sirotech is going to move past as well. So David Pachada really not able to keep the Entropic duo behind. 1.5, 1.6 seconds thereabouts is the gap between Kadlecek and Pilo. And then it's another 3.5 seconds to the leading pair up the road from Adam Pilo. So we'll have to see what Kadlecek can do. From what we saw before, though, in the opening stint, Kadlacek seemed about as fast as Podstata and Pachata, Lucas Pachata, that I should say. So I don't know if he's got the speed to close them down. He might be crossing fingers and hoping that they start going side by side a lot.
Yeah, somewhat. There you just seen the power of push to pass here in Monza. That was primarily what the Entropic pair used at the same time, and Sirotec will definitely want to stay in the wheel tracks of his teammate as Kadlacek is really pressing on. There is Adam Pilo. So starting midfield is now staring at a podium position. You can see the lead pair right ahead of them. A little bit of a distance there. That's now, 3.5 seconds between Pilo and Pachata at the moment, or Lucas Pachata. See, I'm doing it now. You got me doing it. As we see the other Pachata of David now down into 6th position, which will still be a strong finish in these single-seaters, albeit not quite where he was, of course, but still just under half an hour remaining of this race. Let's not write him out just yet. And that's the amount of push-to-passes left. Sirotec has used his allocation. Amazingly, the top two with 6 apiece. They've got almost the most amount of push to pass in the entire field, and they have the fastest pair, not necessarily by a huge amount, but they've been able to build that lead before and after the pit stops. Absolutely incredible pace there. But David Pachata with those push to passes, we've seen how effective they are. That'll really help him try and hustle the Entropic pair again.
Yeah, he's still got time. He's still got tires. He's still got all his wings and stuff, which is more than some of the cars can say in this race. So, he's got plenty of opportunities here. Looking a little bit further back in the midfield, Thomas Hora at the moment holding on to 10th position. He's got Alish Danda not far behind. Everyone at the moment is running the hard tires. There is absolutely nobody out on track on the soft compound of tires as it stands right now. So everybody is very similar in terms of the compound. In fact, identical. Well, not identical because of course different age. But yeah, they're all the same compound. So Thomas Hora currently holding on to 10th. I'm sure he would like to be a little bit further up the road. Thomas Hora is one of those drivers that's usually threatening a top 5 if he's getting the rub of the green. On this day, thankfully, no major incidents for him. Sidnika just getting the back end out, having a really good race. Not the first time we've mentioned that, but currently running in the top 10, has been in the points the entire time. So doing a great job of making sure he's picking up some very valuable points for ESET, because of course they are not leading the team's championship. It's ERT that's leading the team's championship, if I remember correctly. So ESET, they really want to try and pick up as many points as they can with Stefanko out.
Absolutely so. As we now look at Michael Lehman, who is trying to recover from a bit of a rough start and finds himself very much out at sea at the moment. Was he 15 seconds behind Nadlik at the moment? Whoa! And that's what we're seeing a lot of, that huge amounts of slides going on. Which is a little bit curious. Now, it would seem that some people are struggling to get these hard tyres switched on, which is amazing considering how hot the track temperature is. It was 47 degrees to start with. I mean, Italy knows how to do sunshine properly. We Brits complain when it gets a bit warm. The Italians just stare at us and laugh. They know how to do summer well. So, that track temperature is toasty warm. Looking at the LPs up front, Lucas Pastata has managed to gap Lucas Pachata a little, but not enough to break the slipstream. It's between 0.8 and a second. You want to be bare minimum. Lucas Pachata probably wants to be a bit closer than that. And Adam Pino would prefer to be further away from Kadlacek, and the Entropic car has very much kept Adam Pilo in his sight. The second Entropic car has now fallen to about 1.4-ish behind his teammate, and David Pachata has fallen about a second behind him. So now we're in a bit of a management phase. It could be that a number of people are thinking about trying to get these tyres to the end of the race, and if you can do it, you will, as long as you don't lose too much pace in the race, of course, you will save, of course, the whole pit lane loss, which would be in the region of around 25 seconds. It's not a particularly long pit lane here in Monza, but you still don't want to be costing yourself if you could save yourself 25 seconds, you absolutely would. But if trying to make those tyres last will cost you 25 seconds, you may as well just push and burn them up and then go on a set of softs towards the end. Or was that an opportunity for Kadlacik? It looked like he had a decent exit from the second Lesmo. Not quite, as he has to stay in Adam Pilo's tyre tracks. Yeah, Adam Pilo, as you can see, the look in his face is quite focused. He's had a bit of a wiggle, but a lot of people have a bit of a wiggle coming out of Ascari. The most amount of pressure is going to be after the Parabolica, though. Although we've seen a few moves through Parabolica, but you generally have to start them beforehand. There, you saw Kadlacik, his car getting squiggly in the middle of Parabolica with a bit of dirty air. That would have certainly unsettled the car a little bit. And again, Adam Pilo has had the exit he needs. Unless Kadlacik absolutely dives on the inside, which, yeah, he knows better than that. They remain where they are for the time being.
Wow, I really thought Kadlacik was going to get him, but yeah, I think that small moment coming out of Parabolica, and I was going to say, and I really hope I'm not commentator cursing him here, but Kadlacik has to be one of the cleanest drivers that I think I've ever seen in sim racing. He really has not made any sort of mistakes. Now we haven't seen him for an entire season or anything like that. You know, he's still very, very new to VGP, very new to us. But I have to say, Kadlacik is very, very consistent and very, very reliable, and just really does not seem to make mistakes very often. So I would not want to have him behind me. But I will say, Adam Pilo does seem to just have enough in the tank when it comes to his lap times. Not his fuel tank, I should say. He's got just enough when it comes to his lap times to keep the Entropic car behind. Again, he's going to be very, very close. He seems like he might get him into Parabolica. He is closer, actually, than last time. So Pilo's going to go defensive. He's going to take the inside line. It's difficult to go around the outside of Parabolica, but if he can force Pilo to give him the room, which he has done, he's gotten a great exit now. This could be the exact opportunity that he needed, and he's done it. He's gone around the outside at Parabolica to overtake Adam Pilo for a podium position. That's a hell of an achievement right there.
Wow, that was again a very as you say, a very decisive move there. It's every prediction I'm saying so far, you've got to make the move early, has been proven wrong so far. So I'll just sit here and talk about what's actually going on, not what might happen. But yeah, Kadlacik, I'm a little surprised by that, but and wow, Adam really backed off quite early coming down into Rettifilio, didn't fancy getting too close. Curious one, as I'm not sure why Adam backed off quite that early. He doesn't want to fall into the clutches of the second Entropic car. But Kadlacik, wow, what pace he's really starting to press on. That's a very uncomfortable position for Adam Pilo to be in between both Entropic cars. Peter Hermok, we saw a good charge from him early on. He's now with Kashka in the lead Benzina Roland car, with Stednica not far behind either, so again still doing a good job there, standing in for Martin Stefenko as they come through Ascari now. Peter Hermok will certainly be feeling the dirty air effect when he's that close. Is he going to make a move? Looks like he's going to stay there for the time being as they come down into Parabolica once again. Again, this is what I was talking about. If he'd made the move, if he was ahead, he'd then be counter-attacked on the start-finish straight. Kashka, decent exit from Parabolica. Now the slipstreams are going to kick in. Push to pass from Hermok. Straightforward manoeuvre. There's no way that Kashka could have defended that, especially with the inside line going to the Cavago car. That is 7th for Peter Hermok.
Ooh, very nice move. Very nice move from Hermok. And yeah, he had kind of stalled out a little bit after a really good start that got him all the way up into that 8th place position, but finally gets ahead of Kashka, and Studnicka as well is definitely going to be eyeing that Orlen Benzina car and thinking, ooh, yeah, I want some of that, because of course he just saw Hermok make that overtake. David Pichota, meanwhile, has started to slip back from Siratek. This is now more than 1 second. Siratek is within striking distance of Adam Pilo. So as you mentioned before, Adam Pilo is definitely in a tough spot right in between the two Entropic cars. So not only is he having to deal, and there he is, and not only is he having to deal with having to try and get back into that podium position, but he's got to do it while also keeping an eye on his mirrors. And it's deeper than that as well, too, because, of course, the car ahead of him is teammates with the car behind him. So, Kadlecek may try to break the slipstream, for example, on the main straight. He may suddenly move the car over to the other side of the track, a side that they wouldn't normally race on, just to give Sirotech a little bit of a hand, just to try and slow Adam Pilo down as much as he can. So, small things like that, they really don't make much of a difference. I mean, we're talking a 1 or 2 kph at the end of the straight, just from missing out on a second or two of slipstream. So it's really not massive, but, you don't need a massive difference between the two of them to get side by side here at Monza. So Sirotech is going to be taking every single advantage that he can take. But similarly, again, David Pichata is, yes, he is slipping back, but he is right there as well. So if Sirotech can't get past Adam Pilo quickly and just get it over with, then he may end up coming under attack from the second ERT car behind him. So all of these drivers are in an especially difficult position, but none less so than Adam Pilo. He definitely has the hardest job out of all of them. Meanwhile, up at the front, still almost nothing between Lucas Postada and Lucas Pichata, running very close, sort of in a class of their own, really, in this one. Kadlecek has had to do a bit of battling, of course, so that would have slowed him down. But then, of course, Postada and Lucas Pichata have done a bit of battling in this race as well. And there goes, that's Sirotech going on the attack on Adam Pilo.
Other way around, I think.
Is it the other way around? Is Pilo getting back ahead of Sirotech? And that's Lucas Pichata coming into the pits for a second stop. So this is another 2-stop race. Very interesting.
Yeah, and that was that Sirotech that was coming in? Pilo, yeah, beg your pardon. Was just coming into the pits there, along with David Pichata. I did wonder with how quickly people were making their first stop off the soft tyres. I say felt quick, it was 12 laps. It's been 12 laps again, even on the harder tyre. So I would imagine people are just preferring the amount of grip that the soft tyres offered up, especially with the amount of car wiggling we saw with the harder tyres. And again, pod starter is gone for a longer stint. But then again, he was ahead, wasn't he? So Lucas Pichata has just decided, you know what, I'm going to do the opposite to you at this point. And it paid off for him last time, but Podstarter was not determined just to leave him there.
Push to pass out of the second Lesmo, not the ideal place to deploy push to pass. You're carrying a good amount of speed coming out of there. It is quite a long straight, but I would say that's definitely indicative of the fact that he's got to be coming in this lap, because why else would he be deploying push to pass when there's nobody around him on the rundown towards Ascari? Because again, usually I would say push to pass probably best used out of Parabolica and out of the first chicane. So will we see the Carvago car come into the pits? Will we see the two Entropic cars follow him there? We do indeed see last year's champion dive into the pits for his second stop here at Monza. In the background, we should see the two green and black cars coming in as well. And we do indeed see both Sirotech and Kadlecek coming into the pits. So it is going to be a later stop for those three, slightly earlier stop for the likes of Lucas Pichata, and we'll see what kind of dividends this pays very momentarily, because Lucas Pichata coming out of Parabolica now, so we're going to find out soon here.
I wonder, I think Podstarter might have this one this time, because yeah, Pichata was closer than that when Podstarter got underway. Although saying that, oh, that's going to be close. That is going to be close. I think Podstarter, because he's got the inside lines just and only just hung on to that. And they've got hard tyres. Yeah, curious. If they made the initial soft tyres last 12 laps, I'm surprised they went for another set of hards. But there we go. They know what they're doing. Another side-by-side right behind them. Adam Pilo trying to get back into third position, but beaten back by the Entropic car of Kadlecek. David Pichata's back in this mixture with Sirotech. So this pack, arguing for the last podium spot, has completely reshuffled again. Oh my goodness me, we'd said at the top of the show, didn't we? Single seaters at Monza, and the fireworks are aplenty.
Yeah, this is very interesting. Very clean racing as well. Oh, that was a bit of a moment there for Kadlecek at the exit of the first Lesmo, actually, which is not a place where we've seen very many issues from drivers, but thankfully it's one of those places on the track where you're not punished too heavily. It's a short run down to the second Lesmo, so he wouldn't have been feeling that too much, but I have a feeling Adam Pilo would have spotted that one. He might be thinking, oh, here we go. Kadlecek's struggling on these fresh tires, maybe struggling to get them up to temperature. Of course, different setups on the cars, different suspension geometry will allow the tires to heat up quicker or slower, or last longer or shorter, depending on how the driver has it set up. So it could be that Kadlecek not that strong in the early part of the stint, as he struggles to get those hard tires up to temperature, but Adam Pilo hasn't been able to turn that into an advantage. He's a car length or two behind as he gets into the braking zone here for turn 1. 15 minutes remaining in this race here at Monza. Battle for first, well and truly on. The battle for third, well and truly on. The battle for fifth, well and truly on. Seventh, oh yeah, that's well and truly on. We've got battles all throughout the field, and in fact, down in 12th position, there is a three-way battle for those lower points-paying positions. So yeah, lots of battling all throughout the field. Only 3 retirements so far, so 2 of these drivers are not going to be picking up any points as it stands right now.
Well, still time for that to change. 14.5 minutes indeed, and with the amount of action we've seen already, I think we've got plenty more in store. Interesting that we've got a fair amount of cloud cover, so that will help bring the track temperature down a little. How much of a difference that's going to make to these hard tyres? I don't think it's going to make a huge amount, but we don't have a complete field of hard tyre runners now, as you can see on the tower. We've got 2, 4, 6 drivers now on the soft tyres, and Studnicka, again, his maiden voyage in 8th position and challenging, or in a position to challenge for 7th from Peter Hermach. And voila, nicely timed, cameraman. There is Yisaka on the soft tyres. Now this, strictly speaking, should make very short work of the Carvago car ahead of him, as Peter Hermach is on the harder tyres at this point in time. But Studnicka, essentially, he's got kind of nothing to lose, so he doesn't have to make the silly manoeuvres. He's not fighting for the championship. He's here kind of proving his worth, and I'd say he's proving it very, very well indeed, as despite the defensive posture from Peter Hermach, at his 7th position to the ESET car.
Yeah, very textbook maneuver right there. You would describe that one, I would say. Studnicka gaining yet more points for his ESET team, and I think making a great case for himself as a potential full-time driver next season. It's always great to see how the reserve drivers come in and are just immediately on pace with the rest of the drivers. It really just goes to show how many talented drivers VGP has. Not just the 20 active drivers at any given time, but waiting in the wings as well too, and ready to rock at the drop of a hat. So great to see Studnicka moving his way up into 7th position. We'll see if those soft tires can last the rest of the race. That might be the one problem that he has. But at the moment, he's got the tire compound advantage. They're fairly healthy as well. He's had good pace all race as well. Oh, a bit of a moment there for Hermach, but he does manage to gather it all up, keep everything pointing in the right direction, and avoids that outside barrier at the exit of the final part of Ascari there. But I'll tell you what Peter Hermach can do here is he can use that slipstream from Studnicka, and he can put a little distance, a little bit of time between himself and the Orlen Benzina of Kashka, who's not that far behind him and using a bit of push to pass. So you can tell he's clearly keen in trying to make up some more positions. You can see him just in the distance there, so he's not out of it just yet. So Hermach might be glad actually to have somebody to pick a bit of slipstream off of here.
Not if he keeps wagging his tail like that, he won't. My goodness, that would have woken him up a little bit. And that seems to be the characteristic of these hard tyres. They just seem to cause a lot of sliding in these cars, but for the most part of the field, they seem to be running them. Personal preference, I guess, or confident that they can make the hard tyres last. Maybe there's a question mark on whether the soft tyres will be any good being on the car for that long, as we now look at David Pichard fending off the advances of Siratek in the second Entropic car. It's a very defensive posture there for David Pichada, staying to that inside line on the way down to Ascari. It keeps the Entropic car behind. I'd imagine that he's really feeling the pressure, is David Pichada. Both of them on the same, roughly the same life of tyre and same compound of tyre as well. Sirotek looks, judging from the picture alone, I know you can't really judge these things that well, Sirotek looks quite relaxed, whereas David Pichada, I think, looks a little bit more nervous. Difficult to tell. I mean, one, is a very small picture, but two, you can never properly tell. It's all well and good seeing, you know, making yourself look relaxed when inside your nerves are absolutely frayed. But it does look like Sirotek is a bit more in a relaxed posture. We'll see if that is the case as he has a look on the inside line. Whoa! How far back? Whoa. My goodness me! That was a long way.
That was an almighty dive bomb into turn one, and great to see that Sirotek felt, you know, he was able to trust David Pichada with that one, because that's one of those moves that you do not try to pull off on every driver on the grid. You know, certain drivers have the awareness to not take you out when you're attempting a move from that far back, and David Pichada is one of them. I was actually noticing the way that he was glancing into his mirrors as he was coming off of Parabolica. So yeah, making great use of his mirrors. And I was going to say as well earlier that Sirotek had slipped down 4 positions from his starting spot of second, but he has managed to recover one of those positions, moves himself back up into the top 5, now with 1 car between himself and his teammate. But of course, with what was it, 0 or 1 push to pass that he had when we checked on it? I think it was 0, wasn't it? Sirotek is one of those drivers that tends to use the push to pass nice and early, but then unfortunately finds himself lacking in the later stages of the race, and that can make him a little bit vulnerable. But he didn't need the push to pass to make that overtake on David Pichada, did he?
Very true indeed, but whether he'll hold it is another matter, because David Pichada definitely did have some push to pass in the tank. Not many, he only had 3 when we last checked. Of course, we don't know what he is at the moment, as we continue to look at Studnicka and Hermok arguing for 7th position coming through the Parabolica now. So even if Studnicka didn't finish now, he's really shown his worth. He's shown what he's capable of in these single-seaters, which are not easy cars at all. We've talked about this before, the kind of how difficult these cars are to kind of jump in and drive. The GT3 cars, there's generally an element of familiarity with GT-based cars. These things are, well, not to mince words, they're brutes. They are utterly, utterly bonkers. They've got a lot of horses that are ready to escape through the rear wheels, as Peter Hermok is really pressuring for that 7th position. He wants that position back in Carvalho colours, whereas Studnicka is not interested in letting that one go. Again, has Studnicka burned the best out of his tyres already? He's on the softer compound, whereas Peter Hermok doing pretty well to hang on to the back of the ESET car on the harder tyres as well. So yeah, bear that one in mind. So yeah, we'll see how this particular battle continues, as we now have under 8 minutes to go. And for a little while now, Podstarter has had been around about a second. So has he given himself enough of a gap to keep Lucas Pichada behind? Knowing Lucas Pichada? No. he will charge towards the last and really hustle at the end of the race. But we will see. We will see as Hermok gets close again.
Yeah, he lifted a little bit coming into Parabolica, really wanted to set himself up for the overtake here. This is hards versus softs, but those softs, I have a feeling in these hot conditions are really struggling, but it's the outside line that becomes the inside line for Peter Hermok, and he is going to move ahead briefly, but a very good exit out of a very low-speed corner is going to allow Studnicka to stay in it. They're still side by side. We're on board with Hermok, but just to our right there should be the ESET car. He's a little bit further behind, possibly lower downforce setup for Hermok just allowed him to stay ahead there. I wasn't watching the push-to-pass deployment coming out of the Redifilio chicane, but Hermok back up into that 7th place position. It does seem that those softs really kind of lose the best pretty quickly, within 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, something like that, because it's been, I want to say, less than 10 minutes since Studnicka put those softs on, so really not much time. Another thing, Kashka has not really been able to close in on that pair, and with Hermok and Studnicka not really going side by side for too many corners, I don't think he's gonna get too close. I think I saw Studnicka just losing the back end ever so slightly at the entrance of Ascari there. So possibly just really struggling with tire life. But that's good news for Peter Hermach and the Caravaggio team, who I would assume with 1st and 7th right now are on for their highest points scoring finish in the single seaters for this season so far. It's only the 3rd race, obviously, with the single seaters, but again, Lucas Pichata has dominated the season with 2 wins from 2 races in the single seaters so far. So this will be Podstada's win for Caravaggio in the second half of the season, and then of course Hermach in 7th is another great haul of points. So Caravaggio, as things stand right now, with 5 and a bit minutes remaining, they are looking like they're going to have a nice haul of points.
And looking at the gap now between Hermach and Studnicka, this might answer my earlier point of why more people aren't running the soft tyres. They're just not lasting.
Yeah.
The even though the cars are a bit lighter, I would suspect that's the track temperature that is just decimating those softer tyres. Worth a try, but it's just not paying off. That's why the more experienced hands have gone for... although saying that, people like Stepanovsky, who's one of the most experienced drivers in this entire field, has gone for the softs. Worth a try, I suppose. But the hard tyres are certainly those that seem to be favourable for this particular track. David Pichata trying to reclaim that 5th position that he held from Sirotek earlier on. He's staying in the tyre tracks of the Entropic car. Lucas Pichata has closed in a bit now on Lucas Podstata, so for the last few minutes of the race, it does look like here there is going to be a challenge for the lead. It's not going to be a runaway victory for Podstata as we initially thought, or as I initially thought, when he built up that seconds gap. But we'll see if they've got any pusher passes left to use. They're running out of time to use them, in fairness. David Pichata doing what he can to stay in touching distance of the Entropic car. There is Lucas Pichata staying in touch with Lucas Podstata. I wonder how frustrated Podstata's feeling is. Like everything he's tried to do, he cannot shake off his fellow LP. But then it probably is reminiscent of last season when no matter what he did, he couldn't shake off Lucas Pichata.
Extremely close battle for the lead here, and Lucas Podstata doing his best using that push to pass earlier, just trying to keep Lucas Pichata at arm's length. You can see the lap times down at the bottom, and the speed. Wow, over 300 kph just coming into Ascari is not even the longest straight on the track, so huge speed from these cars as they're getting into the very fast Ascari chicane. And Podstata still holding on for the meantime. Let's see if any push to pass is going to get used coming out of Parabolica here. 3 and a little bit minutes remaining, 1:32. Oh, this is going to be close. Is there 2 laps remaining? Is there 3 laps remaining? I'm not entirely sure, actually. I think it's going to be very, very close to find out. So that may end up, we've seen before when that happens, when there's a sneaky extra lap at the end, that can cause serious problems for somebody who maybe didn't expect that extra lap and they might run out of fuel. But we do see some more push to pass being deployed. Peter Hermach has some push to pass. I don't think he's going to be closing into David Pichata, but it's going to definitely help keep Studnicka at length. But we're either at 2 or 3 laps remaining. So Lucas Pichata really running out of opportunities here to try and get by Podstata. But I have a feeling he might be waiting until the last possible moment at this stage.
Yeah, that could be the case. And Lucas Pichata may... I don't want to say he's settling for second, but he knows that his main championship rival isn't here. So obviously Stefanko has been the driving force, well, leading up to last week at Spa, obviously not here this time in Monza. So that has been his arch rival, and with Stefanko not being here and standing now in 8th position, Lucas Pichata may think, I don't have to push, I don't have to do anything silly, and we've got 3 more rounds after here, remember, so he doesn't have to do anything silly to help his championship standings. Although looking at the push to pass amount, whether Lucas Podstata realizes he's got less push to passes, we don't know, as Thomas Horror makes the move for 9th. Oh wow, he just managed to sweep in for Ascari. Nicely done. That's Kashka in the all-in Benzina car, demoting him to 10th position. So good effort there for Thomas Hara, his teammate, in 15th.
We did actually see the push to pass. They showed it briefly on the timing tower. Podstata has 1, Pachata has 3. But
yeah.
I still don't know how many, if there is going to be another lap after this one. I do expect this is going to be a fairly quick lap. But yeah, I wasn't sure how much time was left when they crossed the line. But the fact that Lucas Pachata has not deployed the first of those 3 push to pass, yeah, and there it is again. The fact that he hasn't deployed those leads me to believe that Lucas Pachata, anyway, thinks that there is going to be one more lap. But I'm not so certain about that. Oh, and there's David Pachata. Speaking of the Pachatas, one of them is off. David Pachata from 6th position, and that is going to actually bring Peter Hermach within striking distance. He's going to have no speed coming onto the straight down towards Ascari. They're going to be side by side. Hermach's going to have to be to the outside as they get into Ascari, though. I wonder if David Pachata is going to fight this. He's going to have colder tires, possibly grass on the tires, and indeed, Hermach goes up into 6th position, and Lucas Pachata is in fact using the push to pass, and there is in fact one more lap. So he has timed that perfectly. So Podstata does not use the push to pass. He's got one more still to go, but Pachata has 2. So here we go. Pachata is definitely going to deploy the push to pass here, coming out of the Red Affilio. We should see him activate at any moment now, I would expect, unless he's saving it for the run down towards Ascari and then coming out of Parabolica. Very interesting, and Podstata as well not using it either. So interesting sort of stalemate here when it comes to push to pass usage. The rest of the grid you could see is on pretty much 0, 1, or 2, except for Stepanovsky, who's on 3 actually, interestingly enough. But here we go. I would expect for sure Lucas Pachata is going to deploy push to pass coming out of this corner. Yep, and there it is. And let's see if Podstata is going to feel the need to deploy his final push to pass as well. You can see him looking in his mirrors, glancing up, trying to see as that ERT car gets closer and closer. Is he going to feel the need to go defensive? Are they going to be side by side into Ascari? No. He maintains that position for the meantime. They each have one more push to pass remaining. I think Podstata... and David Pachata and Hermach have come together. That's at the first Lesmo, I believe. Hermach has suffered some pretty significant damage. Meanwhile, Lucas Pachata is trying to pressurize Podstata for the win here, but it's not enough. Podstata saved that push to pass for the perfect moment. He tries to go around the outside, but it's not going to be enough. Or does he have enough fuel? I don't think he has enough fuel. They cross the line side by side. Who has taken it? Unbelievable. Podstata by 100th of a second. I cannot believe that. Kadlacek is going to take that 3rd place position. It looks like Pilo is just going to finish ahead of Sirotech for that 4th place, just outside the podium. David Pachata is going to hold on to that 6th, but we don't know if there's any sort of penalties coming or anything like that. You can see Lucas Podstata. You can see the emotion, the exhaustion in his face after only an hour of racing. He's got to be feeling that. Studnicka into 7th position after that incident. David Pachata's run out of fuel. Studnicka goes up into 6th position. The stand-in for Martin Stefenko finishes ahead of Hermach, who finishes ahead of Pachata. I don't know if Pachata ran out of fuel, actually. Maybe he was letting Hermach through there. Not sure. We'll have to find out some more information on that one, but what an absolutely insane finish to this race, Chris.
Wow. That is the only word I can use. Thomas Hara is rolling to a standstill as well. Oh, that's Monza though. It's so much, so much time on the gas that that additional lap, exactly as you said before, will catch people out. And it was so close to the time when that last lap was started that any wonder it's caught people out. And Svoboda, he's not in the points, but at least he's actually finishing in 17th rather than dead last, following his huge incident early on. But 100th of a second, Justin.
I kind of can't believe it. I kind of can't believe it. I mean, you would think it's scripted with a finish like that. Oh, Monza has really been a treat for us, though, hasn't it? I have to say, Monza has treated us and the drivers quite well.
Doesn't it always? So Svoboda, last car on track. Well, what an incredible finish that was. It is Podstata taking his first win in the single-seaters, Pritchard chasing him home, and Kadlacek right behind. Pilo fourth, Siratek fifth, Studnicka standing in for Martin Stefanko in sixth, Hermok 7, Pritchard 8, David Pritchard in 8th, Kashka 9, and Alexander rounding out the top 10, the fastest lap belonging to Lucas Podstata. Stepanovsky 11, Horror 12, Shambera 13, Maritek 14, Nadlik 15, Lehman 16, Svoboda 17. Those that didn't see the flag were Jan Brunner, Liebemir Moritz, and Eric Vizzi. Struth alive.
Michael Lehman must be frustrated with that one, but yeah, after picking up his first win in the single-seaters this year, and actually the first win this year, Lucas Podstata, third position, no change of position, but he is now within 50 points of Lucas Pachada with 3 races still to go. Alish Danda moving up a number of positions, as did Pavel Maricek, and Kashka as well moving up into 19th position, now sitting on 20 points, so lots of changes of position a little bit further down, a number of drivers slipping down. Stepanovsky and Studnicka level on points. Such is the performance that Studnicka was able to put in today. So really, really well done to him, especially in the team's championship. Very close, 42 points between ERT and Entropic, and then another 26 points down to ESET. Meanwhile, Carvago with that great result moves ahead of Lenovo Legion. Great race. Thank you so much to everybody from behind the scenes, all of the drivers. Chris Buxton for joining myself, Justin Sutton. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.